This is Rachael Holmes, a graduate from UW-Madison with a BA in psychology. She created a series of mindfulness classes for children and taught them at the Wisconsin Athletic Club for 2 years. Currently, she is a graduate student at Naropa University in Boulder, Colorado, and studying contemplative psychotherapy so that one day she can help spread mindfulness around the world. Rachael, what is your definition of mindfulness?
I would define mindfulness most simply as non-judgmental awareness. So that would include awareness of both things that are going on inside of your body, different sensations, and awareness of what's going on in the environment around you. And in a way non-judgmentally, so that you're not labeling it as negative or positive, but just noticing it. And that allows one to notice more things.
Okay. Do you think there's a problem with violence in young adults today?
From what I can see, I would say that there is. I know there's been an increase in violence in the media, in both the school systems and just in the general public. To me, it's kind of unknown whether that violence has always been around and now the media is fixating on it, or if the media is just concentrating on it because it's increasing in society. But I would definitely say there's a greater awareness and prevalence of violence surrounding not only the youth, but society in general as well.
What do you think can be done about it?
In my opinion, I have a bias towards mindfulness. But I think that one of the strongest values and key points that anyone can get in the media prevalence of violence is that children and people in general finding their own niche in society that allows them to be an individual within the culture that they find themselves. And that's where I really value mindfulness, is that you are able to know yourself internally to such an extent that when you're surrounded by people who you're supposed to fit in with, but also be an individual, it doesn't make it difficult for you to find your individual nature within them. Where my concern with the violence is that perhaps they're trying to push their limits, or trying to fit in too much, or believe they need to be different from what society is telling them, and so they rebel and act in violence towards targeted people. Whereas if they were able to kind of accept themselves and know and be comfortable with how they feel they fit in or belong in society, they wouldn't resort to such drastic measures as violence and have more compassion towards themselves and thus other people.
Do you believe that if we were to put mindfulness programs into schools, into high schools, that would benefit these children?
Oh, definitely, yeah. My focus with the children has been younger populations because I would love for them to have the benefits as they're going through the school ages. But I think that anywhere in life it provides tremendous benefit for people, whether you're a senior or somebody who's very young, and anywhere in the middle of the spectrum, especially in high school, because the children are starting to develop their independence. And in order to do that, it's really strongly necessary that they have a sense of self, and not just self-confidence, but self-concept. So understanding the different varieties and textures of themselves in different situations. And if they're not aware of what's going on for them, that is incredibly difficult to know yourself in a situation. So I think that it would really help to benefit them as they're going into the world. And it will be less intimidating and less scary for them to kind of try new things and test the boundaries and push their limits and develop themselves more.
How do you think that could be done to put the classes in?
When I had done it I had done it with preschools. So the way that we had done it was at the beginning of the day. I think that there are lots of different ways it could be brought into the schools. I have also worked with an older population and done it in a physical education setting. So bringing in some sort of yoga mixed with mindfulness into a gym class. Also, transitional periods are really key. So perhaps at the beginning of the class, or at the end of a class, or the beginning of a day, or the end of a day, some space of transition is when people really experience the most anxiety and disorder and chaos within their minds. So I think that introducing it to them during this kind of critical and unsure, uneasy period will help them to really internalize it and hold on to it and understand as they're going through other transitions that they can bring mindfulness into those transitions to ease and facilitate the actual transition of it.
So in your opinion, what effect would these mindfulness classes have on the kids overall as they get older?
In high school? I think that it would really enhance their sense of individuality, and that would have a strong effect on their effects of peers. So I think it would enable somebody to stand against their peers if they notice something is not right or something feels uncomfortable. They'd be able to either voice that or separate themselves from that versus going along with the peers because they're not really sure what they're feeling, or it seems like an invalid or uncomfortable feeling in their body. That's one key thing that I think is the individuality. I also think that it, for me and for many people I've spoken to, including young children, it really decreases the amount of stress that they feel and anxiety, whether it's small life events or really major life events. It allows one to take in the event, and because it's done non-judgmentally, they don't kind of see it as this looming dread that has come upon them, but they just kind of see it flat out as it is and are able to see it from different angles. So maybe see the broader picture or see what stage can be next, the next step for moving on in life. So I think that throughout life we can just kind of ease transitions or life events or just anything throughout your day and not create a rigid habit or routine, but allow one to see things fresh as they come up and work with it as it comes to them.
Now, some people may argue that it's too late to change people's ways once they're in high school and that they've kind of gotten into a pattern. Do you think that it is possible to truly change someone's mindset of the world and how they should treat others and themselves as a whole?
Completely. Since I had, from personal experience, since I had graduated from high school and met up with friends or just classmates within 3 or 4 years after graduating high school, I'd noticed immense changes in most of them. So I think that although supposedly in adolescence, so maybe around ages of 12 to 17, you're really forming a sense of self and individuality, I think that it's becoming a lot more difficult for children these days. I'm not entirely sure as to why it is, whether I won't even get into that, but I think that because it's such a huge transition in a young adult's life at this stage, and there's all these societal pressures to maybe start a family or go off to school, and high school really ends your childhood. So I think that during this huge transition, while society is really up in arms and in conflict, including political aspects and just so many different realms of society that are kind of in disarray right now, I think that although they may be stubborn or seem set in their ways, even if there isn't an immediate change or effect, giving somebody these tools allows them to pull on them and use them when it seems necessary, and just giving them access to it, I think, is the most important thing. It doesn't matter necessarily whether they go out and save the world or decide that they can create this immense change, but just understanding that they don't have to look at themselves or act and behave in a certain way that they have been doing their entire life, that there is another possibility, that they can look at life in a new perspective, and even just letting them know that that's possible, I think, expands their awareness and understanding of themselves within the world.
All right. Well, we're done. Thank you for your time.
Yeah, thank you.